We don't really have a set intro yet, still.
We still don't know.
No.
That's why I always say who wants to start, and then Nathan usually says, I'll start, and then I say, greetings, I'm Oz.
Well,
Greetings, I'm Oz.
The key to not being cut off is that you just keep going.
Yeah.
Like a train that won't stop.
Yep. All right, so what news do we have today?
I don't know, you're the one who has it all.
All right, fine.
Feed us the news and we will respond, because as hopefully you would know about Nightly News, we're actually not here to give you the news. We're here to react to the news, and do not rely on us for your news sources.
Because we're not authoritative.
This is for discussion and hopefully entertainment.
And this is for, what's the word called again?
Why are you pointing to me like what? This is me?
No. Your whole, what you just said was all for protection, wasn't it?
Legal protection?
Legal protection.
But also fan protection. You guys, when you say, you were wrong about this thing, and we're like,
What's the difference between us and any other website that says, here's the news?
We don't fact check.
Like, we don't dictate reality, but they do.
We don't do huge amounts of fact checking, but we try and get out.
Yeah,
sources.
good point.
So what's our first news topic?
Our first news topic is there was a new trailer for
The forgettable Marvel movie name.
the
Eternals.
Oh!
The Eternals.
So you could call them the Forgettables?
More like the Eternals. Turd.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get you sound like a Pokemon, don't they?
That's a new trailer, which I haven't seen. Does anyone even watch, like...
I saw that trailer.
I saw a trailer in the cinemas when I went to watch Shang-Chi, and already people have been criticizing the Eternals that, like, where were they this whole time? Why didn't they help with Thanos? And they injected a line in the first trailer that I saw where they add... So, what this reveals is that the creators are aware of the problem, okay? Yet this was their attempt to fix it. And if they just leave it as that... Oh my goodness. And it was that the, what are their big things? Like the Celestial people. It turns out that they are receiving orders from the Celestials. And I think they say, I forget who said it, but I think it was the Celestials. But I remember the next part, ordered them not to intervene. And I was like, huh, okay.
Didn't they help humanity throughout this entire...
So if that's the, that's what they're supposedly have done. But then later on the trailer, they say that they love humanity. Clearly not enough to disobey in order to save half the life in the freaking universe. Like, if that is going to be the explanation that we were okay with letting half the life in the universe die, that is a... catastrophe, a slaughter, a massacre of unparalleled, inconceivable proportions, right? And they were willing to let that happen because they were ordered to. If the only way this could work is if their power was literally withdrawn and they were chained up, kicking and screaming and crying their guts out for their love for the earth and the peoples of the earth, seeing everyone die, and that their capacity to help was literally taken from them. That's the only way you could get this to work, to have the through line actually feel true that they love the earth and the people in it and stuff like that. That's the only way. If they were like, oh, we love the earth, but then we're ordered not to, so we just let everyone die. What?
Did half the Celestials die?
I don't know.
Because if they did, like, imagine that, you're like, oh, okay, we're about to die. No, you're still not allowed to help.
Oh, gosh.
You'd get everyone on that. A Celestial should have shown up.
So, we will actually do a trailer reaction for the Eternals. There's a separate video. We're not going to do it in Nightly News, so and who knows, I'll have some more ranting. But I've got a couple of other news items that are Marvel-y related.
Yeah.
I haven't watched all of What If.
Me neither.
I've watched the first episode and a couple of scenes of other episodes and the very last episode, because my wife and kids have been watching in the background. And minor spoilers, not really, but there is a villain. Actually, this shouldn't be a spoiler because it's in the What If title. It's what if Ultron got the Infinity Stones or something like that. What if... Is this canonical in the Marvel Universe?
Now it is.
It is actually canonical?
Now it is, yes.
Because
They show different timelines, all part of the same.
Marvel, who's doing the world? Like, the world.
They actually.
So, the reason why I want to bring up just this, there's a lot you could talk about in terms of world building problems that What If is creating, right? And if you don't care about that and you're just enjoying it, I'm glad you're enjoying it. But I like consistent world building and also if something happens, the implications, everything. But this is related to a Loki review because one of my biggest criticisms in Loki was how they treated the Infinity Stones.
They're just paperweights.
They're just paper. And the biggest defense people were saying, and this was so common, and maybe I should just do a whole video on Shadowversity, just because, is that the Infinity Stones don't have power in other universes other than their own. That was what everyone was saying. And I was saying, that's incorrect by what was established in the Marvel Universe thus far, because they actually grabbed the Infinity Stones from alternate timelines, which stand as different universes, and they showed them working in because how Marvel time travel works, when you change the past, you create a new timeline which becomes its own self-contained universe, which is the source of all the parallel dimensions, parallel universes in the MCU. My point is that What If establishes the Infinity Stones are as powerful as they always have been in any reality or universe you take them to.
Yes.
Because Ultron, that is using them. You see him using them in all these different reality universes. So that just makes a steaming dumpster pile mess for those Infinity Stones the TVA had, and it's like, just anywho.
Yeah. No one's just so
it hurts me because I love the MCU, right? And everything in the are we phase 3 now, phase 4?
We're in like phase 7.
I don't know what phase we're in now, but they've gone off the rails so bad, and they don't care about world building at all. And there's contradictions all over the place that no one is real. It's disappointing. Yeah, well, like at least we had Endgame, you know.
Even that wasn't.
I loved it.
Infinity War was good, but Endgame.
I will always love Endgame. Look, you can point out inconsistencies. I think the emotional payoffs in Endgame were just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it.
Infinity War.
So anyway, those are our thoughts on that, and we'll go on to the next news topic.
Yeah, warning though, it gets pretty political.
How would you know that, Oz?
I can sense a disturbance in the force. Okay, so Twitch hack and leak, and yeah, what happened there?
Someone hacked Twitch.
Someone hacked Twitch.
I think they even announced it as a part 1, that there might be more hacks coming.
Oh no!
Don't quote me on that one, but I heard it on a podcast.
And what did they do? They released a bunch of information about the top earners.
Yeah, it wasn't like any passwords or usernames.
That we know
Yeah.
of.
I didn't know. So it was passwords?
I got notifications saying you should change your password and username and stuff.
Okay.
And so I don't. It was like a massive leak, so I think they were kind of just, they don't know what's been taken, but they were kind of a bit cautious because if salaries get leaked, then probably other things have gotten stolen as well.
And they weren't the only ones that got hacked. Facebook got hacked the other day too, didn't they?
Yes.
Something about a DNS.
Is that when Facebook went down and
Yeah,
everyone
Facebook went down. I don't think they got hacked though.
I'm pretty sure it did.
It was just a rerouting error.
No, because the information of 1.5 billion users is now up for sale on hacking forums. That's the new piece of information. They did get hacked. So when people were saying it's the DNS thing, I was sitting there thinking, there's no way this happens in a vacuum. Like, it doesn't just go like, oh no, the entire website broke. Like, no, there's a deeper thing going on here.
I haven't looked into it, so I don't know.
Yeah. And so people have been commenting on certain salaries that were revealed. And look, these shouldn't be too surprising. We know people can really rake it in on Twitch, and what the top earner was Critical Role.
Critical Role.
And hey, good for them. They have good production values. They've been going for a while. And so Twitch is an interesting model how they have their... Are they called subscribers? You don't know.
Yeah, subscribers.
Yeah. But when you subscribe, you're actually paying money to the thing.
Yeah.
And so YouTube has tried to copy that model with memberships, but it's a different kind of culture on YouTube.
Yeah.
I haven't even... Because basically, this is the weird thing, right? I thought about starting memberships on Shadowversity, but it's like a different type of Patreon or Subscribestar, which I already have set up. And the thing that I'm concerned about is like YouTube can be suddenly, nuke your whole channel and it's gone. And if they decide to you, there goes all your memberships as well. And so I was a little concerned about putting everyone's doing. Yeah, I haven't pushed, crowdfunding sources huge amounts. We try to do it on game nights because we need your help on game nights.
Yeah, come on, guys.
But my worry was that if YouTube decided swords are not good content and, mute my channel, I could still upload on other sites and hopefully get some support through Patreon or Subscribestar, which is still around. So Twitch is a completely different ballpark with a lot of people paying a lot of money and a lot of people making lots of money and then others not making as much as you'd think, but
Yeah.
people make money on Twitch. There we go.
And so Critical Role made $9 million in the past 2 years.
Good on them.
Wow. Shad, I'm thinking maybe we should start doing something with D&D.
See, I don't know. The Critical Role has a bit of a corner of the market. It shows there's an audience for it, but because their content is so long form, people wouldn't watch both. They'd only watch one or the other, and because it gets so attached to one, so I see people trying to make role-playing content to try and challenge Critical Role. Tabletop Time, my brother Joss is one, and the role-playing, it gets viewed, but it's, Critical Role has their core audience. The thing is, though, people really liked our role-play. When I did, it was...
all the other YouTubers.
Yeah, Silverthorn. Because
I was just saying,
people were actually saying they enjoyed it more than Critical Role when we were putting that out. So yeah, it's a tricky thing. Let us know. We do want to do role-playing content on game nights. We already have, and we intend to do more in the future.
Your first one got 75k views.
Yeah, I promoted that on Shadiversity, and it was a big ensemble event with all the creative guys from, the community of the sword and stuff. And so, but you'll notice that each progressive episode gets less views.
Let's have a look what the last one got.
I think it was like 13,000.
13,000, you say? 5 months ago. Yes. But my point is sure, there's a cornered market, but, never mind then.
Well, no, there's potential. I'm not sure maybe, I don't know. But it's not something that I'm fully convinced to dive into completely.
All right. You there, viewer, commenter, whoever you are, subscriber, hopefully. Tell us what sort of content you would like to see us do in the comments down below.
We will be doing roleplay content. Don't worry. Yeah.
And if you see someone who says I want to see this and you want to see that, then upvote their comment. Give them a like, thumbs up.
And what do you think? We'll be role playing around this table in this room.
Yeah. What about video games?
Yeah, get off my back. I've just been, quarantined and travelling and all this stuff, and we got to do things before we get there. We just got new computers, by the way.
Why don't we use them?
Yeah, Oz.
Why don't you use yours?
Because I'm using my computer.
The new one's better.
No, it's not. We haven't done a benchmark. What, do you want to do a benchmark?
We'll do that
After this, we're doing a benchmark.
But, Oz, if you want stuff to happen, you just got to start making plans and start doing things.
Here's the thing, though, right? I don't make plans, okay? You guys are the schemers. I just do things.
Yeah. Well,
okay? I'm like a dog chasing a car, okay? I wouldn't know what to do if I caught it. This is where I thrive. This is my zone.
Technically, you got the analogy reversed. The dog chasing the car is the planning. The doing is when you get the tire, you just do stuff with it.
No, the dog planning the car. The dog.
That is a plan. That's a plan. They're executing a plan.
No, the planning is the dog thinking, you know what? I'm gonna chase that car, and then the doing is chasing the car.
No, because chasing is a process of not because once you get it right, then what do you do with it? You don't have a plan.
Chasing is attempting to do something. Chasing is I'm going to try this, and the success is sticking the landing.
Maybe.
I think Oz is right in this one.
Yeah, planning is sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? Doing is doing. Two separate things.
No, because if it wasn't a plan, why did you pick to chase a car?
You think
there would be any number of random things.
Because I'm quoting The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I know,
The Dark Knight,
and I think it's a misquote because you're misapplying it. Because if you are chasing a car, that is a choice you have made, and then you are following through with that choice. There you go. You had a plan, and you had a plan, and you choose
I'm
just
like
doing
a dog
stuff.
chasing a
You
car.
wouldn't be able to pick something. You just do random stuff.
Comment down below. What the hell is Shad talking about? Please translate for me.
I am functioning on very little sleep right now, so
how many times can you make that excuse?
Guarantee, coherent thoughts. Moving on.
You can't when you have plenty of sleep too. I had plenty of sleep last night. I had a great sleep. 12 o'clock, 8 a.m. Oh, beautiful 8 hours. Anyway.
Chess is 2D.
Okay.
Coherent thought. There we go.
Okay, so that's the Twitch hack and leak. YouTube and Google will begin censoring climate denial content.
Climate change is an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
Simply because I like to try and follow what the experts say. I'm not a climatologist.
Trust the experts.
Well, this is the issue, right?
Trust the science.
Well, no, I do. But this is where I get concerned, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people claiming to be experts who are not. Neil deGrasse Tyson is not a climatologist, and he just mouths off like he's an authority and stuff. And I've talked to climatologists on this subject, and what they have had to say is very interesting. Like, so we get visitors in our church, and, these are people offering talks or they're on missions and stuff like that. And there was a senior missionary couple who came, and the husband in the couple was a climatologist. I was like, what an opportunity, I'll talk to him. And his response was, yeah, this whole debate at the end of the day is over a couple of degrees, like in temperature. And I've even read a separate study that if carbon content was doubled in the atmosphere, it would raise the temperature by 1 to 2 degrees, and that would have a more positive impact on the environment because carbon is actually not a pollutant; it's what trees eat.
And turn themselves into it.
And they'll actually increase plant growth. The issue that people say is that there's feedback loops, that by increasing the carbon, that's going to have a subtle but significant effect on how water evaporates and disperses, which is cloud cover, because cloud cover has a much greater global warming effect than carbon, like by insane orders of magnitude. The amount of carbon that actually affects the temperature, even if you were to double the amount of carbon we're spewing into the atmosphere, it would have a minuscule effect. But the people who are trying to say this is an issue, when they try and predict what the feedbacks would be as a result of that carbon change. And their predictions have been unbelievably false, nearly at every single turn. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Is climate changing? Yes, of course. But as to the level, as to the doom and gloom, and so what I like to do is look to the actual experts. I think a good example of this is, we're getting into the whole climate change thing, but I figure, hey, if I'm ever going to be speaking about it, it's going to be here on Game Nines. Smoking, okay?
Yeah.
Is there any health professional who comes and says, no, smoking is healthy, you should drink, you should
100
smoke?
years ago, yes.
But eventually, all the experts who actually studied the actual, evidence and the chemicals, what was happening, the effects on the body, concluded, oh, this actually is really bad.
Yeah.
So the climate change narrative has been around for more than 20 years or more.
Oh, it's been no, dude. Don't take you back to the 90s. The climate change narrative has been happening since the 60s.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s and the 70s, they were saying the world will end in 10 years unless we do something now.
Okay, so...
And then 10 years later, the world will end in 10 years unless we do something
now. To head
now.
off anyone trying to call me a climate change denier, no. All I'm saying is that I want to hear from the experts. And the way that I get convinced if something is true science, if all the experts in the field agree, like with smoking and health.
Yep.
I look at the experts on the climate change thing, not Neil deGrasse Tyson, all these so-called scientists.
Greta? How dare you?
All these people mouthing off, the actual climatologists, and all I'm saying is I get concerned when people who are actually studied in the field are still raising very significant objections, and they cite all these studies and papers and everything that I haven't heard before. And it's like, to me, that means it's unsettled science. And people say that climate change debate is over. Like, if it was, why are these climatologists, actual people in the field, still saying no, there's more stuff you need to look at, and they're saying it today? And I'm not an expert, but we need to look to the experts, don't we? And if it was settled science, everyone should be agreeing, but they're not.
I don't believe in...
And so this is why I'm against... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's fine, go on.
This is why I'm against YouTube censorship, because, again, there's this big doom and gloom narrative that if anyone even speaks out the slightest thing against it, you're a climate change denier, you're anti-science, everything like that. But I'm looking to the scientists to get the answer, and there's not a consensus.
You shouldn't.
And because if there's not, if you're not an expert in the field, who do you look to get the answers in the field?
Trust yourself.
No, you need to look to experts.
I disagree completely.
What? Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I disagree completely with you.
Okay, so someone should be able to present to you a piece of data. You should be able to read through it and make a conclusion on that. You shouldn't be like, oh, here's a wall of numbers.
Who produces the data?
Who produces the data? I mean, just take
The experts?
No. Take a bunch of different experts saying things. Draw your own conclusions from that.
That's what
No.
I
You didn't say that. You said
Look to the experts.
You literally said, right? If all the experts are in agreement, then you can take from that, right? I've said, look at what they're all saying and draw your own conclusions.
all right. So let me. Kyle, do you want to say something, Nathan? You're trying to.
Key phrase being draw your own conclusions.
No.
That's just the way Oz argues is a bit
What?
You take it, Shad. I think you can.
I'm not being too forceful. I just believe
It's not
it's
not a universal thing where all the experts in the whatever time said the Earth was flat and you should agree. No. It's a better rule of thumb though. If you want to try and find what really is settled science, like smoking, and all the people who've actually studied it are agreeing once they do all the studies and they look at the evidence, stuff like that, it's a much better indicator if something is factual accurate than just to look to what the popular consensus in media or, scientists generally who are not experts in the field or something like that.
Is that your principle?
Usually.
Okay,
But
if you apply that to everything that you believe...
Like smoking, okay?
Yeah.
I think have I taken nicotine into my body, seen the effects? Have I studied the chemical breakdown of what nicotine is and how it affects you in the bloodstream? No, I haven't looked at any of that. I'm taking it all on faith. But the faith is that there's been a lot of people who have studied it. There's bodies of evidence, and there are visible results that we can see from people having smoked and having poor, health effects and stuff, means that we can conclude, without me being an expert, but I can rely on their expertise, smoking is bad.
I think the past 2 years have shown us we can't trust the experts. We can't rely on them.
I think what that actually reveals is what real expertise should be, and people claiming expertise are actually not.
No, but they literally are.
Oh, really? How do you gauge expertise? Like
The United Nations. When they say, okay, let's have a human rights council that will govern all these different nations to make sure they're not committing human rights violations. And on this council, we will put, China, we'll put Russia and Saudi Arabia, the 3 biggest human rights violators in the world. And they will be able to determine other nations committing human rights. Also, we'll give them all veto status.
How does that contradict my standard?
Because that's literally a room full of the most powerful institutions in the world, so-called experts, governing...
First of all, so-called. So first of all, you're doubting the expertise.
What do you consider an expert?
For instance, if we look at climate change, a climatologist who has studied the field, done the science, done the research, and actually works in the field, I would say they could qualify as an expert in that field.
But
And the thing is your analogy doesn't work, in my opinion, because there would, say you have like a body who's supposed to be comprised of experts, right? Are you saying that no other experts outside of that body aren't disagreeing with them? No. And if there are...
I'm just saying you can't trust that so-called, that institution, that expert thing.
Well, I'm saying you could gain greater evidence that that thing is unreliable if there are people studying the actual field that they're practicing saying, nah, they're getting stuff wrong. You can rely...
But you've just said that it's the group of people saying, oh no, we all agree, this is the correct thing that's going on.
No, I'm saying the whole consensus of the people practicing.
You will never find that.
We do in smoking.
No, there's still doctors today that consider that it's fine.
Show me.
There will be.
I doubt it.
You doubt it. There will be.
Show me.
Taking the entire medical practice into consideration, there will be.
Do I need my phone?
There's doctors in Uganda who say that, eating part of a lizard will cure cancer.
So what you're saying is that you need to find people who are more legitimately experts.
No. I'm saying don't trust a group of people all in agreement, and they're also
I think you can trust people when you figure out
I
their
disagree.
intentions.
No, well, when you figure out their intentions.
Yeah,
And
if
how
you-
do you do that?
By trying to understand who they are as individuals, and if they have any biases, and if they have, thing. And again, like you should always listen to the information that's put forward.
That's
okay?
presented to you.
Yeah, and
What if it's not presented to you?
well, you can look for it.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is, again, why I'm against the censoring, because there are people, scientists, practice in the field, that the climate change discussion is still being discussed and still being studied. And,
No, it's settled science now.
well, that's what YouTube is trying to say by cracking
And that's why
down on
I'm
this.
against saying, follow what the experts say.
Well, if you said that, what about the experts that are still trying to debate climate change? You don't want to listen to them?
I want them to keep debating, but I want to say that that YouTube shouldn't be saying, shut it down.
I agree, but
Yeah.
you also said you shouldn't listen to experts.
No, you should take from a group of experts and make your own opinion based on that.
That's what I said.
You said... The first words out of your mouth were, when the entire field is in agreement...
But I
Okay.
did contextualize
What percentage
that
of the
a bit
entire field? Literally 100%? All of them?
No. Obviously,
percentage?
if there was one guy screaming in the wind saying all the other scientists are wrong, that's less.
Okay,
you know.
let's say 2.
No.
3, 4, 5? How many? Like, give me
Yeah,
a...
obviously there's a number that it reaches a certain level where it's like, all right, there's too many people raising an objection, and that's
Yeah.
what I've seen with climate change. There's too many climatologists saying it's being blown out of proportion, or we're dealing with just a number of degrees variance here, and some even going far to say that's a complete hoax. Okay.
The climate people have been saying since the 60s that the world will end in 10 years unless we take immediate action now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of doom and gloom. What was the former... he ran for president one time and he made
Al
that...
Gore.
Yeah, it was Al Gore. He made that thing
Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah, and it was... he made all these predictions that in this big documentary, and none of them came true.
If the caps are going to melt and the sea levels are going to rise, why does Obama have a beachside property? Why are all the rich people living right next to the beach?
It's an interesting question.
Because they've got boats.
Yeah, well, that's
got rich people. Yeah,
they're
they've got
rich
boats.
people. There we go.
The boats are going to help when you're 20 feet underwater.
Well, I mean, you could hop on the boat. It would help. Somewhat.
See what I have to work with, people.
That's what we got to work with.
Anyway, the thing... Okay, do you remember back when the... can we say the word lockdown?
We were like back when. What do you mean?
Sorry,
back
I'm still
when.
in
when they
lockdown.
started, but do you remember when they started?
Oh.
Are we allowed to say that word, by the way? Lockdown?
Lockdown, yeah.
Okay, sweet. So remember when they started? Back in 20... When was it?
2020 March.
2020? Okay, so when that was happening, they came out... Just everyone came out with a ton of articles saying, oh, these lockdowns are doing great for our environment. We've got to keep this up. You remember those?
I remember some of them.
You remember
yeah.
those? Okay, there was a ton of them, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So, and I can prove all of this, by the way. Basically, the lockdowns and this climate change stuff all leads towards the 2030, what was it called? The 2030 Sustainable Living Initiative, which is put forth by the UN, which is basically no one's allowed to go outside of cities. We're going to have no more personal cars. You will have to live in a pod. You will not be allowed to eat meat. All of that stuff. Like, this is the stuff the UN themselves are putting out. And I'm still the conspiracy theorist. When they release this stuff saying, we plan to do this, every step we're taking now is leading towards it, and all of your personal world leaders agree that they're going to do it. Yet I'm the conspiracy theorist, people, because I'm looking at the stuff they put out themselves.
I think it's the way you deliver it.
That's
what
what
I
he
always
says
say.
too.
Yeah,
I always say.
It's like,
sometimes-
I'm the conspiracy theorist, guys.
I'm not going, people,
You are!
listen here, people.
You're
I
very
have the
close,
documents.
Oz. You're very close.
I'm literally sitting here saying, it's all laid out. They say it themselves. I'm not sounding crazy. Check out...
You're sounding very emotional. It's like, and I'm the
Shad, you can talk about a stick and start frothing at
I
the
know.
mouth.
That's funny because
But when
it's
I
an
talk
irony.
about the entire world stage and like governments literally trying to take away everything you own and make you happy about it, I'm the conspiracy theorist. When they say they're going to do it,
You sound...
what? I talk with passion.
You really sound
I know
like
it sounds crazy to someone who trusts the experts. Anyway, check out Computing Forever on BitChute. It's all laid out there.
Okay, when I say trust the experts, I think you're taking me out of context a bit. When I say, because people say...
It's a very loaded term.
No, people try and use that with the climate change, trust the experts, but they're saying it in such a way that where no experts are actually saying something different, and they're taking out of context.
I want a
what the
percentage, because if you hold that as a principle, yet you don't
like,
have a...
I feel expertise, especially in academic studies, are very important when it's done right. It needs to be done right with proper peer review, and that's what we're not seeing in the world today, where anyone who proposes a legitimate study that's counter to any mainstream narrative, it gets shut down. But there are people in these fields still trying to put forth the alternate views, really peer reviewing things and stuff like that. And those are the ones that are like, because I'm a bit of a contrarian myself, I always wanted to hear what the naysayers, people saying it. Because if you want to find something's true, you need to hear both sides of the argument and then what you're saying. And that's what I'm saying along. Because if you only consider the experts one group and not the actual people proposing what's contrary to it, you're not really listening to the experts there.
Yeah.
You're listening to a bubble. What is it? I'm tired.
I just don't think that we should just because there's a centralization, we should just believe what they say. If there's a group of people who are all really powerful and smart, and they're
the thing is,
how are they any different from us?
Well, I'm not a climatologist, so I can't, break down these studies. I don't have the time and stuff, so I need to rely on experts to do the studies for me.
Well,
and that's the same with so many fields in the world, and so we do require, expertise in areas that we don't. But the key is listening to everyone in that field.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how many of these science, whatever experts, geologists, anything like that, you would disagree with almost all of them just from your own religious beliefs alone?
Well, that's actually different. Because
how is it different?
Because
they're all experts.
Oftentimes, listening to really good, solid science actually helps me recontextualize my religious views.
Yeah, okay, but they would drill... Okay, how old do you think the Earth is?
Evolution is a great one.
How old do you think the Earth is?
I actually think it's very, very old.
Okay.
Very, very...
So
as old as what the science currently is saying. But that doesn't contradict my religious beliefs.
But how do you know that?
What do you mean, how do I know?
How do you know that the Earth is this many years old, and how does that
Because
matter?
there's some really good science behind it. For instance, rate of erosion, okay?
Yeah.
If a river is running through an area, we can see how long this river is eroding this thing based on the soil density and stuff like that. And then we look to the Grand Canyon and say, ooh, based on this soil density and how much the water's running through and stuff like that, this should have taken billions of years. Okay? That's a really good logical piece of evidence that we can look to the Earth and get some really good information
There's
from.
a lot of Christians, and I know personally, that they all say 6,000 years.
Yeah, that's fine, but to me, it doesn't contradict my religious views at all. And because it's interesting, especially there's a lot in the Bible that said, symbolically, but then also literally. But as to where that line starts and ends, it's actually hard to say. And so it doesn't affect my religious views at all in terms of the age of the Earth, and I accept the current scientific consensus on it.
One of my friends from Discord sent me it was Timothy 1 verse 4 said that in the end times there'll be people who tell you not to get married and to not eat meat.
Well, there's more prophecies than that.
More prophecies than that. But the vegans, people, the vegans.
So we've gotten very political. Someone's also gotten very heated.
I got heated. I speak about the future of humanity.
I got heated. See, Nathan noticed it right away. It's a little defensive there.
I'm not offended.
I'm not offended.
See, that was different.
That was done better.
No. When I say things like, when I say people, I have the documents. Check out this UN website. I'm telling you, people, they're coming for our guns. They're coming for our homes. They're gonna make us eat the bugs. I have the documents.
If you had an American accent, you would have sounded the exact same.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean I would have sounded the same?
Just then.
Oz is
You want to talk with an American accent? I can do that.
Oz is our lovable resident conspiracy theorist.
Yes, I am.
So we've gotten pretty political on this one, but I don't like censorship, and I've explained why already, is that I think there's more to be said about specifically climate change. And this is the thing. I haven't decided one way or the other, all right? Because when I looked at the scientists, it's still being debated by a lot of people. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying, well, I reserve making a judgment call on what is happening until it actually becomes more settled. That's where I'm at. All right? And I'm open-minded. I'm going to be listening to people objecting and stuff. And I think it's horrible that people who are approaching it like this would be, accused of being a climate change denier and stuff like that, when literally I'm listening to the experts in the field, and I'm actually acknowledging those people that are still objecting to it because they know more about it than me.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on it, I go by their track record. If they've said since the 60s the world's going to end in 10 years.
Predictions and
saying the same thing now. If they're saying the same thing now, no, I don't listen to you anymore. You're just lying. If you're either lying or you're wrong over and over again for the past 50 years.
It says something about their competence, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, or they're lying. It's one of the two. But if it keeps happening, then you can assume they're lying on purpose. All right.
Was there anything you wanted to say on...
Except for call me a conspiracy theorist? Well, you sound crazy. They don't keep us locked inside for 2 years, you idiot.
It's not necessarily what you're saying, it's how you say it that makes you sound crazy.
I say it less crazy than you talk about machiculations.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm doing it on purpose, you're doing it in earnest.
You think I'm not doing this on purpose, people? I have the documents.
Because I'm doing it for a joke to make me sound crazy on purpose.
Yes.
That's the point.
Look at me sound crazy on purpose.
You're like trying to excuse your own crazy soundingness by pointing out when I'm purposely trying to sound crazy.
Whenever someone talks angrily and passionately, you've been conditioned to believe that guy's insane.
No.
If I was a street preacher, you'd be like, hey, that guy's
because
cool.
Most unhinged people I have met in my life, from my own subjective experience, have been overly emotional and have trouble controlling it. And so I'm not saying you can't be right and be overly emotional, but you can sound crazy by being overly emotional because usually crazy people are.
Okay. Sure. All right. So Dave Chappelle. Did you watch the Dave Chappelle thing?
Not yet. I want to.
Dude. Oh, man.
I watched his last one.
I know you did. That was a good one. This recent one was a bit, it wasn't as good. But he did have some funny jokes. Because he said that he got the C word. He got the virus, right?
Yeah.
He said that, I got the virus. I didn't feel anything. And before that, he said that he saw a bunch of videos of people of colour beating up Asian people. And he said, that must have been what's going on inside my body. Because he's black and Chinese virus. Whatever.
There was multiple layers to that joke.
Yeah, I didn't do it right because I'm not Dave Chappelle. Right?
Yeah, well, Chappelle can deliver it.
Yeah, he can.
What are your thoughts, Ethan? You sound like you've heard it.
Yeah, no, I watched maybe 45 minutes of it.
You didn't watch the full thing?
I watched the full thing. There was some funny moments in it, but I don't know, it's not my taste of...
You see, this is what I'm talking about. We just got to backtrack a little bit, right?
All right.
You guys talked to me about trusting the experts and doing research and stuff like that. We talked about this last week, talking about this in this game night, in this nightly news thing. We're like, you guys watch it, we'll all watch it, and we'll talk about it when we get on nightly news. I'm the only one that did the research and watched it. And you guys want to talk to me about trusting the experts?
What, only one?
He watched half of it.
Yeah, because then I just got disinterested and
Yeah,
didn't want to
that's
watch it anymore.
fair.
Well, if I'm reading a page about climate science and I get halfway through, I'm like, boring.
This is different.
You think I'm not bored reading all the conspiracy theories?
In terms of deciding if you enjoy something, you don't need to sit through the whole thing to reach that conclusion.
But that wasn't the point.
But to determine if a scientific paper is accurate or not, you should usually read the whole thing.
And for
it's
this
a different
one,
standard.
And for this one, we're trying to determine whether the so-called cancellation was warranted.
No. We're doing a general review and reaction to it, and what Nathan's done is perfectly adequate.
Well, that's just my point about, what's the word? Attention span. Is that I'm the one with all these ADHD problems. I'm the only one that can pay attention to it.
No, he didn't stop watching because he couldn't pay attention. He stopped watching because it wasn't his thing.
Okay, but we all spoke about we'll watch this and talk about it on nightly news.
And I forgot.
Okay.
I'm a busy man, Oz. I'm doing a lot of things.
Maybe that's it. You just shouldn't be busy.
Yeah, I shouldn't be busy.
No, not you. As in, the only reason I can is because I'm the least busy. The only reason I can read any of this crap. But vigilance is the price.
I've watched some reviews of Chappelle, and I get what you're saying. He is very crass and crude. That's his cup of tea, right? And I used to not be able to enjoy him, but I was able to enjoy the last one because he was sticking such a finger to PC and and he just didn't care.
Yeah.
And that gave me an additional amount of enjoyment in it, which is why I think I could enjoy this one too. But you're right. Generally, I don't. I like it. It goes too far for even me. But it's funny. The more reactionary people have been to comedy, that you can't joke about that stuff, has actually made me want to react to them just to get them triggered, and almost embracing dark comedy more than I naturally would, because I used to believe that comedy could go too far. But when I said that, that was my own taste, where it would get up to a point where I wouldn't laugh at it. But I would never say that comedy should be cancelled. Never.
Yeah.
And the example is when Family Guy would go too far, even for my tastes. And there was one whole skit they did about... the dad says something about something was dropped as quick as a prom night dumpster baby, and then it cuts to a whole song segment of this girl dumping a baby in a dumpster and the baby jumping out and singing about him being a prom night dumpster baby. It's really messed up, right? And it, like, when I watched that, it was like, just made me feel a bit gross. It wasn't funny. And so that's when I would say, look, comedy can go too far. But I never would say you're a bad person for laughing at it, or it shouldn't be made. But now when people say comedy goes too far, that's what they're saying. Cancel it. How dare you even say anything like... And when they say that, that almost makes me like want to joke about prom night dumpster babies just to trigger them, even though I don't like it.
I know, right?
So,
But didn't he talk about that in the show as well?
What?
did he?
He was going to get cancelled?
Yeah, they said that they came after him. He said they came after me, and this is me setting some things straight. And he basically, the whole thing, he talks about how he had this trans female comedian who was a friend of his, who came to all of his shows, who laughed at all of his trans jokes like they're the funniest thing ever, who wasn't a good stand-up comedian, but she was very funny when talking back and forth. And what was the other one? That she ended up defending him when all the controversy came out, and then because she defended Dave Chappelle, the trans community came after her, and she killed herself.
The aggression in the trans community is... next level. They
came bounding over.
And I particularly get annoyed with it because they don't treat other people's views or self-identity with nearly the level of sacredness that they demand. And people are like, oh, how? Well, for instance, my religious beliefs. You think that doesn't form an essential and massive part of my identity as an individual? It forms literally every choice I make is made in the context and framework of my religious beliefs, because it's all about keeping commandments, trying to do the right thing and everything like that. My identity as an individual, as a child of God, okay, on every single level, all right? Yet, do I demand people not use the name of Christ in vain, which is one of the most offensive things that could hit my ears, right? Do I demand people acknowledge my beliefs that when they're belittled, it breaks my heart? Do you want to talk about offense and stuff like that? Yeah, people don't give a piss about what offends me because it's religion. But if you offend anyone and don't call them the right name, to hell. You are worse than the worst things in the world. You're a terrible person. You deserve to be cancelled. And when they say cancel, right, the ultimate endpoint, and you might say saying this is an unfair, extrapolation, but if someone can't work, they can't provide for themselves, they could die.
Destroying man's livelihood is destroying his life.
So the underlying implication, which not only can lead to, it has led to this, is people's deaths. People have committed suicide after being cancelled and everything like that. And because that is such a real possibility, okay, it's like...
Alex Jones just gets stronger, though.
Well, no, I can't stand this, because you're essentially saying you want someone to die. And it's like, how dare you say that's not what I'm saying? But that's a possibility of what your actions can lead to.
Yeah.
And you talk about accountability when you're saying if you misgender a trans person, that's so terrible because that type of dehumanizing action can lead to their suicide, can lead to death. Apply the same bloody standard then. You're talking about the action, the horrible results of what might happen based on your actions. Okay, apply it to yourself then and stop being a friggin' hypocrite and think about it in reverse. What could cancelling ultimately lead to that individual? And then if you say they deserve it, you are a disgusting scumbag, okay? Because this is far different from forgetting to call someone what they want. This is an actual overt action
attack
of choice to cause someone harm. That is vast. Like, one has no moral, you forgot, okay? Or even worse, what if they actually don't believe someone can change genders and it's just an expression of their honest belief, okay? That actually has no moral weight on them. They're not trying to be mean to someone. They're just saying, I honestly believe this, okay? Yet, in reverse, an action that is intended to harm and ruin someone's life based on usually things that have no moral implication or ill will in them, what's actually more evil? Think about it.
When you talk about these things with such emotion and
I know, I sound like a
conspiracy
conspiracy theorist, don't I?
Difference is I can point to the documents. Anyway, no, Norm Macdonald, he said he was talking to a trans man once, so formerly female, and the trans man said, "How can you believe in a giant floating man in the sky that's invisible?" And Norm Macdonald said, "Well, I'm willing to believe you're a man."
Norm. It's a joke, but... You know.
Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald, my hero.
And so, like, I just see such an unbalanced standard that the trans community are demanding, and they are not applying same standards or treating people with the same level of respect that they are demanding themselves. And there are some big issues there.
That's because it's all about power.
And what happened to the days when you could believe what you wanted? Just don't force me to... Like, I don't force anyone to buy into my religion, right? I'm happy to convince them through discussion. But that's not the reverse. People are saying you must.
Yeah, it's because it's about power. It's not about
acknowledge my, lived expression, identity, and stuff like that. And it's like, hang on, that's a whole different ballpark in believing what you want to believe. Yeah. That's forcing other people to conform to your worldview.
Yeah,
that's not right.
That's because we're in the grips of a cultural struggle session.
I mean, if the Inquisition was wrong, forcing people to convert and stuff, which it is, it's evil, forcing anyone to conform to any worldview by force is evil. All right?
In the case of the Inquisition, it wasn't about religion, it was about power, right? Same thing with this.
And what it is, there is a responsibility on every individual to live with their beliefs, regardless of what other people feel about them. If people disagree with your beliefs, you need to be an adult and live with it. Yeah. And there, guess what? There are heaps of trans people that are able to still transition, live their lives, believe that what gender they are, and the views and opinions of other people doesn't matter because they know what they know and they're going to live their lives. And I say all power to them if that's what they want. But don't force me to believe or change my views, and I won't force you to believe or change your views. And anyway.
As the great Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, do not live in lies. Do not distort a single word of something you see as not being the truth.
Yeah, and it's sad because so many people say they've gone too far, I'll cancel chat and everything like that. I have no problem watching people who vastly disagree with me. If you are so immature that you cannot be friends with people who have different views, you're an immature person that needs to grow up.
And they've tried to, haven't they?
Well, some people have actually. Part of reality, or like growing up, living life, being an adult, is learning to get along with people with different views. Because guess what? You will never find a world where everyone will acknowledge your views or agree with you. And if you try to make a world like that, you're just going to create conflict and war.
What about the experts if they all agree something?
What? Even the experts don't force people to agree. You can try and convince.
The experts don't force people to agree in 2021.
We're seeing different contexts of experts here.
I feel like we are.
All right. And so, by people's standards that I'm seeing in the world, I should not watch any creator that doesn't acknowledge my religious belief, my self-identity. I should consider them terrible, despicable people. By the standard I'm seeing in the world, I should try and cancel them and everything. And if you try and say that this isn't fair because one is an actual expression of their true identity and religion, you don't understand religion if you say that at all. And you don't understand my religion at all if you even attempt to say that, because you obviously don't know how personal religious views are and how they do form an essential aspect of an individual's identity. But no, the world is going to hell, and everyone, I'm a terrible person, even though I have friends with people with vastly different views with me. And,
Saigon.
But so also even in my own family, right? And I love them, I get along with them, because that's actually a great thing, to get along with people you disagree with. And so people who, they've already probably turned off this video and, gone to rant and everything and stuff like that. But if you're still here, you're more than welcome to stay. If you make content, I would watch your content, okay? All right? But I get it if... because what annoys me is that because of what's happening in the world, we have to talk about this stuff. I would love if we never even have to mention politics or what's going on in the world and just talk about games.
I have too much fun with it.
And this stuff is related to social media stuff. And that's why we react and respond and talk about it, because social media is very related to pop culture and what's happening and things.
Well, what if 2,000 years ago, the town cry in Rome came out and said, "Oh, damn it, we're not allowed to talk about Caesar crossing the Rubicon." Okay. We got new bread, guys. Yay! Like, we're living in very tumultuous times, and we should be able to talk about them. Otherwise, we're just sticking our head in the sand and telling everyone else
the thing
to do
is,
the same.
yeah, people can talk about it if they want, but ultimately on game nights, I want to talk about pop culture, movies and stuff.
But they're so... You don't want to do this. They are.
We can still be the distraction, because everyone knows about this stuff.
No, they don't.
You can find this stuff. There are outlets for this.
Yes,
You've mentioned them all, okay?
I've mentioned one.
But it would be nice if game nights was the nice happy land.
There is no happy land. Everything's dying.
There is!
Everything we love is dying.
We can be the new thing.
We're eventually going to die one day. This flesh will fail.
I'll come back.
Yes.
But no, I think I agree with Shad that yes, it gets involved, but if we can be that little nice distraction for people on, after a rough day, that'd be
Back
really
in the
good.
80s, they had a thing called the good news, where it was literally just all the good news from the day. Everyone was tired of negativity. They just wanted to show the good news for the day.
Yeah.
It failed. People don't want good news. They want to know who's coming at them with an axe. That's what they want to know. They don't want to know, oh, it's raining gumdrops outside, and there's beautiful flowers, and there's a rainbow. No, they want to know who's coming to murder them and take everything.
It's not
they own.
wholly correct.
Basically, it is.
No, there are, good touchy-feely stories that get huge amounts of traction on Facebook. You see them, shared on Facebook and things.
Yeah, I share all the, cute puppies being rehabilitated and stuff like that. I love that stuff. But when it's like midday, I'm like, what's going on in the world? I don't want to see the happy puppies. I save that for late at night when the bad stuff hits me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But for the rest of the day, it's Tim Pool saying, what does he say? I'm from the south side of Chicago, mixed race.
Listen up, man.
Yes, exactly. You actually did a decent Tim Pool just then.
Civil War's coming.
Civil War's coming for the past 3 years. Dude, we're like...
We love you, Tim. Don't worry, man.
No, he's right, though. We're in the fourth turning, people.
No. What I feel, you have to be wary of the possibility of civil war, and if things don't improve, it is a very real possibility in the future, like the division. Like if you can't get along with people you disagree with, or allowing for people believing things that don't conform with your self-identity. You need the whole world is never going to conform, because if you try, you're just going to have war. That's the ultimate result. You think there are some real fundamental religious people. I'm not going to say we're talking about huge swaths of the Earth's population, more than 50% in some cases, especially some countries, right, that are not going to agree with so much of what's being pushed in the mainstream narrative at the moment. They will never. They will die on those differences because their beliefs form an essential part of their identity. And so what are you going to do when you reach that point where they're not going to conform? You have to learn to get along with it, or they could just learn to accept other people for who they are.
That's never
but
been
isn't
the case. There's always been a side that's been willing to do that, and there's another side that isn't.
That's what annoys me about the whole trans debate. They're trying to say you must accept who I am. They're forcing people, yet they're not willing to accept anyone for who they are if their worldview doesn't acknowledge their own.
Yep.
The hypocrisy is insane.
But that's what good versus evil is. The good is willing to do that, to be tolerant of people who they don't agree with in any way, or who they even think is intolerant, right? But then there's the evil people who aren't willing to tolerate people they disagree with, and even call the intolerant people intolerant and are intolerant of them. Do you see what I'm saying?
There is an interesting principle in Christianity, and it's that forcing someone to do good is a greater evil than the evil you were trying to prevent that person doing.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is a profound, truly profound moral injunction and understanding. Okay? So even if, because this is why people are trying to justify the cancellation, the reactions, and all that stuff, is that they think they're serving a good. They're forcing someone, and they think it's justified because they're ultimately, they think, achieving a good. But the principle is by forcing them to do it, taking away their free will, that's actually an even greater evil. All right? And if you're wondering where this principle comes from in Christianity, it was the whole council in heaven and the debate between Lucifer and God, where Lucifer came forward and said, I won't give people, I'm paraphrasing to simplify it for people who aren't familiar with the scriptural language, but he said, I will force everyone to do good. No one will be lost, essentially. No one will sin and therefore die and everything. They'll all be saved. And I'll do that. And that was, and his ultimate intention there was to take away the free will of mankind. But it was through forcing everyone to do good. And of course, you knew, well, maybe you don't know what happened to Lucifer. He was cast out and became the devil because of the unspeakable evil it was to take away people's ability to choose for themselves. And the underlying message there is forcing someone to do good is a profoundly significant evil. And that's baked into fundamental Christianity on many levels.
Yes, because trying to enforce virtue actually leads towards the worst situation you possibly could imagine. Like, look at the Soviet Union. We do this for the happiness of all mankind. As if that was the only goal you could go for, you know? And look what it led to. Mass suffering on an industrial scale.
Well, because that's when, you come to what are the best ways to enforce people to obey or do what you think is right. Re-education camps.
They're doing those now.
You know, and we see sides of the world today where they have man, we're getting political. I can feel your discomfort just
That's what the people come here for.
Oh,
Nathan.
I've passed that now. It was there before when Oz was being...
Yeah, only when I say it, when Boss Man says it, you're like, oh yes, tell me more.
Because Shad does it in a very welcoming way, where I feel like, Oz, you're going to bring out a knife and be like, we're going to war!
That was very
I dare
well
say
said.
base, let's go to war. Let's do it. Hey, okay, comments down below. Who's craziest out of us two? I won't say us three, because it's clearly not Nathan. But you are the most normie out of all of us.
I'm not complaining.
You watch ABC.
Oz, you keep
do
bringing
you?
that up.
He does.
No.
Yes, you do. I literally saw you the other day.
He said he didn't.
I watched a single video.
You sent me one. You sent me one like, oh, look.
Okay. I need to paraphrase my reaction.
Okay.
When he says ABC, I was thinking ABC News, which is just awful.
No. Shad. You know that guy.
But a lot of programs on ABC are awful.
You know that guy on ABC who pretends like he's on like Play School, but it's for adults, where he's making little witty jokes. That guy.
No, because I don't watch ABC.
Yeah, dude, it's the most horrific stuff. It's literally like, oh, look, I'm gonna show you how to be a climate scientist or something like that. He's like,
Yeah, I haven't watched ABC since they cancelled Good Games.
You watch that guy. You watch that guy. I've seen you do it twice. You sent me one.
I'm trying to figure out skit ideas.
You were watching that while eating lunch.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
You want good skit ideas, and your first thought is, let's go to ABC.
Yeah,
Why?
because I'd slept before and I watched that.
Watch Skit House. Watch Whitest Kids You Know. Watch...
Oz, calm down. You're sounding a bit crazy.
We can
See-
have different tastes, Oz.
Yeah, but you have a taste for apparently human communist fecal matter, okay? I don't.
I gotta give you, that was a very well framed description of the ABC. Sorry.
Sky
And the
News should start a skit branch. That'd be awesome.
Gosh. I'd watch that.
No, you wouldn't.
When
Like, this is all fake news.
Did you say Sky News?
Australia.
Australia. Sky News Australia.
Sky News Europe, which is part of the reason why I don't trust them, because the Europe branch is like, Anyway.
There's a big difference between Sky News Australia and not Sky
They're
News
both
Australia.
owned by Murdoch.
No, they're owned by different...
I thought they're owned by
interests,
Murdoch. Oh, okay. Pretty sure they're both owned by
them all.
Murdoch.
No, I don't know.
Anyway.
Because what I was also just going to mention is that we see in businesses instituting certain educational programs to enforce certain narratives that are going, and so we're already seeing the enforcement and stuff. And when you say enforcement, it's like people's jobs are at risk unless you comply and stuff, and that is evil. Like literally, by coercion, forcing people to conform to certain beliefs.
So should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, gosh.
This won't be political at all. Give Amazon and Facebook and Google a seat at the United Nations. Now, here's some of the reasons why, right?
We need to we need a warning. Nightly news, the most political we've
We
ever
need a new
been.
segment which is Oz talks about political news. And then game nights is the pop culture.
So they compared logos to flags, anthems to jingles, taglines to mottos, mission statements as their constitutions, founding stories as official histories, their terms and conditions as their legal codes.
So to people trying to say that the tech monopolies that exist in the world today are not as powerful as nations,
where are their armies?
why are they being given a seat on the United Nations?
No, this
is it Google?
This is a suggestion.
Oh, suggestion. But even a suggestion, why would people be entertaining the suggestion if they weren't as powerful? Like, literally, Google is more powerful than certain countries with the amount of influence and control they have over what can affect things in the real world. It's a little concerning.
The customers are like citizens, the shareholders the legislators, the board of directors the executives, chairman is the monarchs, the CEOs the presidents, and the oversight boards are the judges. And this is the argument they made. If brands have the power, wealth, and impact of nation states, and increasingly act like nation states, they should not be bought. Should they not be brought into the nation states community and be held accountable for what they really are? Equals, allies, competitors, and threats. No, because guess what's going to happen then? They're going to bring Facebook and all that onto the Human Rights Council, and they'll have a veto status like, no, we don't want you to invade Venezuela or something like that.
So which dystopia future was ruled by corporations? Was it RoboCop or Demolition Man?
Both. With RoboCop, it was... basically, one company bought Detroit, and with Demolition Man, society collapsed, and what rose from that was corporate monopolies, a bunch of different ones. Like Taco Bell was the last surviving restaurant.
I find it amazing that, like, we're headed that way.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
but here's the thing. In Demolition Man, I'm Edgar Friendly, by the way. In Demolition Man, there's the people who refuse to live in that society who get put underground.
Yeah.
The people above ground can't live with that, and so they send bad people to kill the people underground. But then the people who are capable of helping do, and it all ends. All the bad stuff ends, and then we go into Starship Troopers' future.
So basically, all it says, the stuff in the movie happens because it's a movie, and then you're just basically describing movie, and then the movie happens.
The pendulum swings. Okay, evil is defeated, and from that we go into a bit of utopia for a little bit, but then Mars rebels.
Lord of the Rings was a good movie, wasn't it?
It was the best.
You were describing Lord of the Rings.
It was the best movie.
Yeah,
Shad.
and you were describing Lord of the Rings.
Anyway, I recommend you
Evil defeated, small utopia.
Go watch Demolition Man and note the similarities we live in now, and then go watch Starship Troopers because we're going to that.
Even being fined for swearing. Now you might say, there are words you are not allowed to say.
Yeah,
period.
The gamer word.
We're already headed that way where there are just words that are like.
We're not allowed to call someone who has previously been a different gender that gender. You're not allowed to do that. In countries in Europe, you can go to prison for that.
Well, actually, someone just got like a several $1,000 fine in Canada for misgendering someone.
A guy in Canada got sent to prison for misgendering his daughter.
That one I haven't heard of. So, but I know recently, it was someone in a business got fined, and I don't think he was even the owner of the business. He just worked there. Double check. Again, we're not a news source, but he was fined through the court system, proving Jordan Peterson correct. Like, Jordan Peterson objected to the law that came in.
Yep.
And he was literally saying that this law will lead to people being criminally prosecuted for misgendering people, and he wasn't okay with that. And there was a slew of articles saying, that'll never happen, you crazy person.
The legislators themselves.
The laws, the law, like, no one would interpret the law that way. It's clear what it says. Fast forward to present, literally happening.
People say the same thing to me about the Great Reset when I talk about it.
Well, you'll be able to crow when it happens.
It is happening. This is the result of it. Anyway.
Corporations too powerful.
But that's the thing, like, to do this would make them subject to their own internal laws, not the laws of nation states. Sure, there'll be international law.
It's not going to happen. Oh, I hope not. But this is just a pipe dream someone's talking about. It's not...
How have things changed?
I know, right? I'm eating my words.
It's at this point I just need to sit here and look at you funny.
I know.
Yeah, you know what? You make a good silent point, Oz.
Yeah, you do, Oz.
Sometimes I say it best when I say nothing
Yes!
at all.
Your delivery is just as important, honestly.
Yeah.
What's something really normal that everyone... Oh, yeah, smoking bad word, because it's related.
Guys.
It's like, guys, smoking's bad. You know, nicotine, it's got tar in your lungs.
It's the acetone.
Acetone. It's like, it'll give you cancer, like actual cancer. Nicotine.
See, I don't say it like that.
But you can sound crazy even when you say something that's completely true.
Okay, fine. Let me say it calmly and collected.
Right?
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see how well it comes across.
So basically, the governments of the world have joined certain think tanks and other, powerful institutions, and they've said, okay, guys, what we're going to do is have a sustainable living initiative, and we're going to change the way that capitalism works. So we're going to lock out the lower classes and anyone that isn't part of one of these institutions, so they can't possibly rise up in the economic ladder, and they won't have any buying power because everything that they own, they won't own.
Have they published any of this information publicly, Oz?
Yes, all of it. It is all available on their own websites. Isn't it insane? Isn't that a crazy thing to happen? See, there it is! I just spotted it myself! Ah! What am I? Okay, you guys might have a point.
He finally saw it.
Questioning his reality.
Where's the blue pill? I want a blue pill! Let me out!
There we go. I guess, is this everything? Is this not in the news?
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, but you know what? I have some questions for the commenters. I want you guys to answer this down below. Okay, so, do you want good news or bad news? How political do you want this to get? What's your favourite colour?
No, this is the thing.
Who's your favourite game night?
That won't work because some people say, it's fine politics. It's like, it's the worst thing ever. You guys shouldn't do it. It makes me hate you and all that
But
stuff.
I read these things.
Yeah.
I read the comments.
There's not going to be a consensus, but there will be a group of people who are more passionate about certain answers and will be more outspoken than others, which will give a skewed, sample test result and stuff.
Yeah, but if they don't vote...
No, yes, we are going to choose... Look, I don't mind feedback and finding out what the audience likes. Yeah, but ultimately, for Nightly News, we already have the standard, is that we actually want to avoid politics, but we... when the social media platforms we use do big things that are going to be affecting how we make content, pop culture properties that we're interested in and stuff like that, veer into politics as well and everything, we will absolutely comment on them and be very upfront about our views. That's the game night standard that we've established, and I don't want to change it.
I know, that's what I'm asking for.
But what if people want it to change? What if their whole result
then screw those guys.
Then why are you asking?
Because I want to know their opinions.
Okay.
Just like they watch this video to know our opinions.
Yes, that's true.
Back and forth.
That's all right. I thought you were asking with the intent to change.
It's your editorial decision at the end of the day.
That is right.
You know what, guys? Comments down below. Where can I get a sword, some duct tape, and a body bag so I can usurp this office? I'm not going to do that.
So just put you in a headlock.
I can break these cuffs.
It's his ultimate kryptonite now, we know.
I'll admit, that was a dumb move, the headlock thing. You see, I was like, no, shit, I can get out of that headlock. There's no way you're going to keep me in that. You see, what I thought would happen is he'd just let me throw him over. He didn't let me do that, though. He just applied more pressure onto my throat, and I couldn't breathe.
Then he got really salty.
I was a little bit salty, and I'll admit that. You see, I can make concessions. Yeah. So easily do I make concessions. I would have won that fight. Here's the thing about Shad. Don't fight Shad. Because he has 300 ways to kill you, and that's with his bare hands alone. Okay? He's gone on numerous raids against Al-Qaeda.
I'm nothing close to, anyone super competent fighting. But I'm deceptively competent, though. People don't think I know how to handle myself.
They think you're just a pudgy nerd.
Measurable degrees. No, I have done martial arts. I've trained, a good portion of my youth, and I can whip those out when I need them.
You hear that? He can whip it out when
I can whip it out, and especially a good headlock. That's my strength. Headlock has always been my strength. Because it's not just you need to lock your hands because I was trying to pull the hand out, when he was trying to get free.
I tried a lot of things while I was back up.
And you lock it, but it's not only that, you need to twist and lean over.
Yeah.
Because you can't, the strength of your back cannot produce enough strength to lift your whole, the only way is to actually lift out of that is to lift my whole weight. And that's not going to happen by the way that you twist and hold them down like that.
I could have dropped to the floor, pulled you with me, and let you kill me in that, and then I would have won because you would have been sued.
You would have won a moral victory.
Yeah, because I was murdered.
This has been Game Nights, and I'm not happy with the Kane House wishing a good night. I'm not happy with the sign off, which means we might just embrace
You're
the
not even happy with the
renaming. We might just go with a whole new name on game night.
Yeah, we're thinking of a new name.
Should we get feedback on that one?
Let's go through the list. Should we go through the list?
No, there's only 2 that we were considering.
No,
by
both
the end.
mine. They were.
No. Fight Night was mine.
Fight Night was mine.
Fight Night was mine.
Are you kidding me? Fight Night was mine.
That was mine.
Now we have infighting.
You gotta be insane. I said Fight Night or Night Fight. But I said either of those.
No,
two.
you said Night Fight. That was dumb.
I said Fight Night or
No.
Night Fight.
Night Fight.
You said Knights of Culture.
What are you, a
Let's go
retard?
through the list. Let's go through the big old list.